Oh, baby, this is the draft stage in Pittsburgh, ready to play host to the NFL draft weekend. Beginning with Thursday's first round, the Eagles have the 23rd pick in round one and hope to continue Howie's hot streak. This is our Eagles draft preview special.
Come on, here we go, Ruben. Let's get it on. Come on. One more.
There's nothing quite like the energy of the NFL draft.
What did we give up? 164. Can we get that?
On Thursday, Howie Roseman and the Eagles brass are hoping their hot streak continues.
We got you. You are a Philadelphia Eagle.
Quinyon Mitchell, defensive back, Philly. Go back, baby!
Let's go. He sat way too long.
Howie joins us for an exclusive conversation about the team's draft plans and their road back to a Super Bowl. Plus,
your dad being there for you every step of the way. How fulfilling is this now? You're at the point where you have a chance to be a professional football player and play in the NFL.
We are tracking the draft dreams of Josiah Trotter, who aims to follow in both his dad and his brother's footsteps and drop the axe in the NFL. Anything can happen at the draft.
Janice, what's going on, man? It's Howie.
What's up, Big Pimpin'?
This is our Eagles Draft Preview Special, and it starts right now. Eagles Draft Preview is presented by Jefferson Health, the official health system partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, let's get those draft juices flowing, huh? With that, we welcome you to our Eagles Draft Preview Special. Glad you could join us. I'm Danny Pommells here in our NBC Sports Philadelphia studios. Howie Roseman aiming for more excitement like you just saw beginning Thursday in round one of the 2026 NFL Draft. Here's what the Birds are working with overall. They've got one first-round pick. That's 23rd. They've got 3 picks on day 2, 1 in the second round and 2 in the third. If Howie stays put, and you know he just can't do that, he'll be busy on day 3, 2 picks in round 4, 1 in round 5, and a final pick in round 6, a total of 8 selections overall. Now, back in 2018, the Birds made Dallas Goedert their first pick, and the Birds veteran is back on another one-year deal this upcoming season. But there is a tight end in this year's draft that's generating all kinds of buzz. His name is Kenyon Sadiq of Oregon. He set the combine record for the fastest 40-yard dash time by a tight end. Just call him Sadiq the Freak. This past year, Colston Loveland of the Bears and Tyler Warren of the Colts set new standards for how impactful rookie tight ends can be. Can Sadiq have that type of impact? And if he's available at number 23, a big if, by the way, is he the answer for Howie Roseman? We asked Daniel Jeremiah of the NFL Network.
I don't see them going in that direction. I think Sadiq's a talented player, but he's not in the same grade for me as those guys you just mentioned from last year with Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren. He's just not going to be as big. And it's just not really, I don't think that's Howie's MO. You know, I look at where they are offensive line-wise. I know Lane said he's coming back, but that's that's something you're looking forward in the future. You got to find that eventual replacement there. We'll see what happens. To me, offensive line for the Eagles seems a little bit more likely.
Yeah, Jeremiah believes the Birds would be more likely to have interest in a player like Max Clare, an Ohio State tight end who excels in the blocking game and also has pass catch ability as he showed in previous seasons at Purdue. Now, it's been a while since the Eagles took an offensive player with their top pick, but perhaps Thursday will be the time to go. Our John Clark caught up with Howie Roseman for this Eagles Draft Preview exclusive interview.
The Philadelphia Eagles select Jahad Campbell,
Quinyon Mitchell,
Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis.
You have to go back to the 2021 draft to find the last time Howie Roseman picked an offensive player in the first round. He took Devontae Smith. That worked out pretty well, right? But given his recent run of success selecting top defensive players, which side of the ball will Howie go with pick number 23 this year?
Well, the most important thing is making sure we come out with the best player available to us. I think once you start getting into needs and once you start forcing guys, you know, you get in a situation where you may not even fix the problem that you have. So it's so hard to find good players in the draft. We got to stick to our process, stick to our board, whoever's there at 23 that we think is the best player, they're going to help our football team short-term, long-term. We never know where the needs are going to arise as we go about building this team in the future.
And Nick Sirianni, he talks about the connection that guys bring, the football IQ, and then the love of football and things like that, competitiveness, things like that. How much does he influence you after watching a lot of the film about what players he likes because of those intangibles?
Yeah, we're aligned on that. You know, we know how important it is to bring the right people into this building, whether that's players, whether that's staff. It's so important that this team is connected, that this team is together. And you do that by having great background information, making sure that you're bringing the right people in. That's our first job. You know, when you get good people who are good players, they're going to maximize their potential. You know, they're going to help other people around them maximize their potential. And so, you know, we have deal breakers as we go into this draft process. We take this responsibility of who we bring into this building, who we bring into this city, you know, really personal.
You mentioned that you think about it almost every day, some of the misses you had in the past. But you've been on a really good run here, getting really, really good players. Have you noticed any thread or common things amongst all these picks you've had over the last 4 or 5 years, let's say?
The Philadelphia Eagles select Jihad Campbell.
Yeah, I think the picks have been easy. You know, you sit there, your board reads to you, it speaks to you. Us being able to go through all the work, which really we'll start for the 2027 draft. We'll start that in May, and we'll go all the way through, you know, this time of year next year. And so when you do that much work, when you really have a good feel for these players, who they are, what their skill set is, who they are as people, you know, you got to trust that process. And so you got to take the draft and put it into a separate entity and understand that when those 3 days end, we may have another need. There may be another position that may be on our depth chart that we feel like we have to address, but there'll be time to do that.
And Howie has been making picks for a long time. His first draft pick, Brandon Graham, came in the 2010 draft. Now in 2026, 16 years later, Howie is going to call the shots in the draft room once again, and he wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
I love what I do. You know, I feel very privileged to be the general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles. I take that responsibility very seriously. I love the draft. You know, I love picking players. I love seeing how those players, you know, start their lives in Philly, and we have so many examples of guys who've made their life in Philadelphia because they've been drafted as Eagles. And so I think when we're able to make that call, it changes their life, and in a lot of ways it changed all of ours too.
Final question for you. In years past, you have told us going into the draft, if you had to play a football game right now, you could line up and you think you're going to win a lot of games. Do you feel that way about this group right now?
Yeah, for sure. Feel really confident in the guys that we have in the building. I think that we went into free agency hoping that we could address a couple needs so we could go into the draft feeling free. Now, you know, again, nobody's got a perfect football team. You know, there's a lot of areas that we can improve. But I promise one thing, we'll do whatever we can in our power to improve in those areas.
I'm John Clark for NBC Sports Philadelphia.
Thanks, JC. Up next, the Birds do have a starting spot open at the moment. Reed Blankenship's departure means the Eagles have an opening at safety. How does that change the team's draft plans? We'll talk to Ross Tucker about it next as our Eagles draft special rolls on. Hey, we're back on our draft special, and there's a chance the NFC East could look a lot different after this draft. The Giants, who already had pick number 5, sent Dexter Lawrence to the Bengals for the 10th pick. The Commanders have the 7th pick and should be a bounce-back candidate in 2026. Then there is Dallas, who has picks 12 and number 20. The NFC East could become the big storyline in this draft. Now, in all, the Birds have 8 picks in this year's draft. They spent one of their selections to acquire Dontavion Wicks from the Packers, who adds to their wideout core. Joining us to talk more about that position and the entire Eagles draft is our Eagles preseason game analyst, Mr. Ross Tucker. Ross, we appreciate you joining us. Let's dive into this. And the Eagles say flat out, A.J. Brown is an Eagle. And maybe he will still be at the time training camp comes around in late July. But if the team decides it's best to move on from number 11, are you comfortable with the group of wideouts the Eagles have, or should they target one in this class? And if so, who's the ideal player that you're thinking of?
Ooh, you know what? I'm gonna answer that, Danny, by saying both. And here's what I mean by that. I'm comfortable in the sense that I do think if the passing game went through Devontae Smith as the number 1 receiver, Dallas Goedert, who's back at tight end, if they got Saquon Barkley more involved in the passing game than he was last year, I'm comfortable with those three guys getting the most targets, and then guys like Dontavian Wicks or Hollywood Brown being a part of it as well. That said, it wouldn't surprise me at all, and I think they should strongly consider it, if a receiver prospect they like round 1 or certainly rounds 2 and 3 is there when they're selecting, they should absolutely strongly consider it, because who knows how long Hollywood Brown and Wicks would be there. And if you can get a guy that has a nice skill set that complements those other guys, in other words, let's just say maybe A.J. Brown's not there. A guy like Denzel Boston from Washington would be absolutely perfect. He's a bigger bodied, single receiver side, great with contested catches. I'm not saying he could replace A.J. Brown, but he's got a somewhat similar skill set that he could fill in for what A.J. Brown's provided for this team over the last few years.
All right, well said there, Ross. Let's move to defense. Perhaps the most apparent position of need for the Eagles is safety. Any chance you see the Eagles spending their top pick on safety Thursday night? Very unlike them, but if not, is this a position they have to address later in the draft?
So that would surprise me if they took a safety in the first round, but I think it surprised a lot of people that they took a linebacker in the first round last year. They hadn't done that in forever either. I don't think that they have to get a safety necessarily. They've more or less backfilled with a couple of, I call them veteran safety blankets, like Marcus Epps and Michael Carter. So they've got guys that have played and guys that I think they could play with and win with. But I certainly think that that's a position, second round, third round, that they would really look at. And I'll say something else, too, by the way. There might be 3 safeties that go in the first round. While I don't think the Eagles will take one of those guys in the first round, those teams have other guys that are supposed to be starting at safety right now. So Howie Roseman's smart enough to realize, you know what? If so-and-so team takes a guy in the first round, whether it's Caleb Downs or Dylan Thieneman, well, then maybe Howie Roseman trades to get the veteran starter who more or less just lost his job. So as Howie has said and will continue to say, there's a lot of different ways and a lot of time between now and that first game.
All right, those are the margins. Let's talk about what historically Eagles have done. They are a team that loves to build from the trenches out when they're constructing their roster. Right now, they could use some help in those spots, too. Let's be frank, at defensive end, they've got Jalen Hunt, Nolan Smith, and Arnold Ebiketie as their top 3. How much do you expect the Birds to target that position this weekend to try to get more guys on that D-line?
Well, I think it's possible, but I don't think it's as much of a priority as everybody else does. And I know why they say that. It's because the Eagles tried to bring back Jalen Phillips, but the price point for the Panthers got too high. But I still think there's a decent chance that they bring back Brandon Graham. And so if you go into the season with Jalen Hunt, Nolan Smith, Arnold Ebiketie, and Brandon Graham as your top 4 edge rushers, and maybe you get a young guy that you're developing later in the draft, I'm totally fine with that. They've spent so much money on so many players, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They're going to have to spend money on the defensive side of the ball now. You need guys like Jalen Hunt and Nolan Smith to play. Both those guys have shown us over large stretches that they can make plays, that they can be starting edge rushers. I think the Eagles need to give those guys a bunch of snaps and hope that they continue to develop.
Okay, Ross, we always leave you with this. Fill in the blanks. In a perfect world Thursday, Roger Goodell comes to the podium and says with the 23rd pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select who?
Ooh. I'm going to go with 2 guys. They both start with a K. So
you only get one choice. You only get one choice, Ross.
Okay. So if I can't say, I won't say Caden Proctor, the Alabama offensive lineman who can play guard and tackle. I think maybe for my own selfish reasons for the preseason games, I'm going to say Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end from Oregon. And I heard what Daniel Jeremiah said, and I know what – let me just tell you this. This guy, in my opinion, would be tight end 1 a year from now because Dallas Goedert's just back on a 1-year deal. Plus, he ran a 4.35. And so I think – he could fill a couple of voids this year right away basically be the tight end too, but also be able to give them legit snaps as a weapon. They can split out wide, they can put in the slot. He'd kind of be both a receiver and a tight end in one. The guy is a weapon. He's a physical phenom. That would be pretty cool if that's who the Birds took at number 23 overall.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts would love to have a tool like that, and he would be a game changer. Ross Tucker, well said. Always great to have you. We appreciate your insights and look forward to seeing you on the preseason broadcasts.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Danny.
Oh, for sure. Up next, another axe is set to drop, folks. Jeremiah Trotter made the axe celebration famous in Philly. His son, Jeremiah Jr., dropped it while winning a Super Bowl for the Birds. And now Josiah Trotter is set to make it 3 Trotters in the NFL. Yeah, our Draft Dream series with the youngest son of the Axeman. It's next. Hey, we're back on our Eagles draft preview special with the story of the youngest member of the Trotter family, Josiah, hoping to make his draft dreams a reality this weekend. John Clark has this NBC 10 exclusive.
Draft Dreams, presented by Toyota, official partner of the 2026 NFL Draft.
Eagles Hall of Famer Jeremiah Trotter wanted his babies to be NFL linebackers.
So you're saying when Josiah and Jeremiah were in the belly, were you calling out defenses?
No, I was just praying. I was like, all right, God. I said, everything you gave me, give them double, you know. I was going to push them no matter what, whether they loved it or they didn't. Listen, if you lived in the Trotter household, and you're a male, he's going to play football.
From a young age, Jeremiah Jr. and Josiah Trotter were learning to play linebacker in the family home, even if they didn't know it.
We used to do drills in the basement in front of the TV, and one guy would be the linebacker, other guy would be running back. And the running back's job would be try to make him miss, and the linebacker would have to make tackle. And it was full-out tackle. And they thought they was just kind of playing games. But I was really teaching them, you know, the art of playing linebacker.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. I'm thinking it's a game or something, you know, just trying not to get hurt by my brother.
The Axeman was not only training his sons to play linebacker, he was teaching them how to be pros.
They started out early. I mean, 9, 10, working on their autographs, going through the interview process. And it's just not about X's and O's.
Yeah. You know, doing, you know, like mock interviews, stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, it's paid off because this is a good interview.
Yeah. So far, so good.
Josiah learned quickly what his dad meant to the Birds and the city of Philly. He watched his dad's YouTube videos and then watched his brother get drafted into the NFL by, the same franchise, the Eagles.
Just growing up, you know, having an older brother, you know, so, you know, having your fights with your older brother, you know, and everything like that, you know, doing tackling drills with him. So just getting that dog in me. So I feel like having my brother and then just my dad just really instilled that in me where I just, you know, getting that dog mentality, killer mindset.
I'm really grateful for them to have the mindset to want to continue to carry on that legacy and that last name, and it means something to them. So that's special for me.
Jeremiah Jr. was drafted by the Eagles a few years ago. Could a third Trotter be drafted by the Birds?
That's my team. This is my city, man. You know, I love these fans to death, and it would be great to have a third Trotter wearing that Eagles ring. Not a lot of people get this opportunity. And for me to have experienced this for the third time, truly, truly humbling. I'm just thanking God for, you know, him having the opportunity and going through this experience, man, and just carrying on the Trotter legacy.
Great work, John. And that's just part one of our favorite series of the year. We call it Draft Dreams. We showcase talent from across our region, hoping to see their NFL dreams become reality this upcoming weekend. The series continues this afternoon on NBC 10 News at 5. We'll be right back. Hey, a quick reminder, round one of the NFL Draft is Thursday, and NBC 10 will be live from the Jefferson Health Training Complex. That's Thursday at 7:30 right here on NBC 10. That's all the time we have for our Eagles Draft Preview Special. I'm Danny Pommells. Thanks for watching, everyone. Reminder, we're back Thursday at 7:30 with live reports leading right into round one of the NFL Draft. Enjoy Draft Week. Take care.